whenever the ADS is deployed, you usually need to perform some off tunings. Generally, I would recommend to use first changes in the method configuration and then potentially false positive, but of course it would depend on the matter. So let's have a look on, for instance, this SMTP anomaly events, what we have here. We would probably focus more on these which are more common and see what we have. So we can see that here is some legitimate server used, which is probably not on our list. So when I'm performing this, I tend to have the settings open in a different tab to allow me to work with the analysis at the same time with the configuration. So I want to have a look on SMTP anomaly just to confirm what is my settings here. So we can see servers filters is LAN plus public IPs. So most likely this one isn't on our, it's not in our or any list we are using. So what we can do in this case, if this is normal server which should be used, we can say, okay, we add this as a legitimate mail server, so we add it to the filter of public IPs, for instance. So you can say add to filter and say LAN plus public IPs. That's where it will be present. Or of course you can say, okay, this is just for combination of this source and this target. So in that case, you might want to mark as false positive this event. So you can say that SMTP anomaly is for all instances, potentially all methods. It's good to write some descriptions. So this is legitimate communication to SMTP of something like that. So we know this is legitimate. We can use also filters if we don't want to use the IP addresses, or we can use wildcards in them. Then there is always an option as well for false positive to exclude some specific autonomous system or host name. So you can use that. You can set up time validity so that it should happen only when this event happens in specified time. Set up expiration, so that means whenever we set it up for June 30, whenever that date passes, we will see new event, and you might even select to delete false positive events, but be careful with this option, because if you select all the events, it can take quite a lot of time, especially if there is lots of events in the database already, because it needs to go through the database, and that might render it unusable for you until this one completes. So very careful with this option. Once you are actually working with false positive, I also recommend you from time to time to review them, because obviously there could be some older false positive which are never used. So what you can do is to say which one created and where they were last used. So you can see we have here quite some methods false positive which were created some time ago and they have not been used. So in that case, I recommend just to delete the rule. So you have really just rules which are being used. Also, you can observe when you click on the false positive how often it's being used, when it's triggering, how it's being applied, and things like that. So that's also valuable. As we were talking already with this custom incident identification of compromise, so you can create this way custom blacklist which you can assign then to the detection method in order for it to detect. So you need to do that in order really to see what's happening, and you can see we have actually several custom blacklists, so you can use these. Also, you can use an application blacklist, which, okay, it's not. So let's create a new local where we say it's application, and you select which applications are forbidden to be used. So unless you want to, be too specific. So you can select, for instance, this adult content. Whenever this will be detected, it will trigger an event, and then you can work with it normally. So this is also a newer feature, so it's valuable if you want to detect, for instance, as well TikTok or Facebook or any of these device, any of these things. They should help you to detect it without the hassle to search through the flow data.